All right, hey y'all. It is Wednesday at 8, and I'm gonna wait a couple seconds for some folks to jump on for tonight's Facebook Live. And I can't wait for tonight's topic. It's gonna be pretty awesome. I got a whole page full of notes, so hopefully, I drop some good gems for you guys. And I'm actually going to take another note real quick. All right, so I hope everybody's Wednesday went well. For those of you who haven't been here in a while, I'm Tremaine, the creator of this group. This is in the Get Your Money Right Facebook group. And I'm probably going to share this really quickly. So for those of you who are watching this, if you're not in the Facebook group, be sure to join so that you can see these live as they happen, and you can type in your comments and your questions and hopefully get them answered as we get started. So our topic is disciplined spending. So what does it mean to have disciplined spending, right? When we think about managing our finances and really staying on track of everything, we have to be disciplined. And really, when you're talking about being disciplined, that means you are obeying rules or laws that you've put in place. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining. And so when we are obeying rules that we've put in place and we're talking about disciplined spending, we're basically following our budget or our spending plan that we've made for ourselves. So if you haven't already made a budget and you want to be more disciplined about your spending, the first thing I would recommend is to analyze your spending and to make a budget based around how you spend. You want to have something that truly reflects what you're doing so that it can be effective. And so after you make that budget, any payments that you have that are fixed payments, I would recommend putting them on automatic payments. So that way you have less of a chance of changing your mind and deciding that, oh, maybe I want to do something different with this money, when instead you know that that payment is going to come out automatically. That'll help you build some discipline because you know that money is going where it's supposed to go. And then the very last thing I would suggest is getting clear about your goals. It's one thing to have a budget. It's another thing to stick to it and believe in why you're doing it. And a lot of times the reason why we fail is because we don't believe in our why. And so if you know why you're cutting back on going out so much is because you're trying to buy a house, or because you're trying to buy a new car, or you're trying to retire from work early, then you're probably more likely to do the things you set forth to do in that budget. All right, so when we're talking about our disciplined spending, I'm talking about the things that we can control. So obviously we have some expenses that are fixed. Hey Chloe, thanks for joining. We have some expenses that are fixed that, these are things we have to pay regardless. And so, like your rent, if you have a car payment, any expenses that are coming out regardless. But when you're trying to be disciplined, things that you have control over how much you spend, like your variable monthly expenses and your discretionary income, those are the things that really you have to be more intentional about where your money goes. And so with your variable expenses, my tip for being disciplined is to, whatever your budget is for that, that should be the most you expect to spend, right? So let's say my budget for my groceries is $200 a month, right? And that's the most I expect to spend for the month. My goal is to spend less than $200, because that's, let's say I only spend $175. That's $25 left over that I can either put towards whatever my financial goal is at the moment. So if I want to go on vacation, that's $25 extra this month I can put towards that vacation. Or if you're motivated by small rewards, you can use that $25 you didn't spend to reward yourself for staying on track. So with your fixed expenses, with your variable expenses, you want to try to stay below whatever your maximum budget is for that and do something with the difference. So you don't want to just absorb it into your discretionary income without it having a specific task. I think that's what helps us stay disciplined, is that we have somewhere for all of our money to go, instead of just saying, hey, here's this money here, what should I do with it? Because then that's when you start to spiral out of control. And so what I think the hardest part of being disciplined is that discretionary income. Money that doesn't really have a place. It's kind of like, oh, am I going to go to the movies with it? Am I going to go shopping with it? Like, what am I going to do with it? That's the hardest part about being disciplined, because it doesn't have a specific place for it to go. So we kind of have a lot of say to what we do with it. My tip for discretionary income, I umbrella this under entertainment. And so that could be shopping, that could be going out to the movies, that could be a happy hour, that can be whatever is fun for me at that time, but it has a budget line item. And so let's say your entertainment fund for the month is $150. And so there's a couple ways you can do this, right? So let's say for the month you have $150. Hey, Tony, welcome on. There's two main ways I'd like to focus on. So let's say it's $150 for the month, right? And there's 30 days in the month we're talking about. The first way that I like to use is dividing the money by the days in the month. So if I have $150 and there's 30 days in the month, that's $5 every day I can spend. Well, who's going to spend $5 every day on discretionary things? Like, maybe you don't go see a $5 movie every day. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you don't do anything. Well, then on Thursday, hey, I have $20 to spend at this happy hour. And that way you keep track of where your money's going, because by Thursday, you have $20 to spend. Maybe I don't spend all of that, but I know, hey, I didn't spend this money these other days, so I can spend this much. Another way you can do it is to allocate that $150 through the month. So maybe you know at the end of the month, you're going to the beach. And at the beach, you're going to ride jet skis or whatever you want to do there. You can set aside, hey, I need to not spend $75 until the end of the month because I'm going to use this money at the beach. So you can either do the method of doing $5 daily or whatever your budget is for the month, or allocating specific monies for parts of the month where you know you're going to be doing things. So like if you know you're spending money on the weekend, then Monday through Thursday, you're not spending any money. So it helps you build a regimen and a routine where you know where your money's going. The next thing I want to talk about is paydays. So many of us are paid twice a month. If you're a teacher like me, you only get paid once. But either way, sometimes when we get a paycheck, we fall into this like feast and famine thing where like as soon as you get paid, you're like, oh snap, I got all this new money, like I need to do something with it. And what I would encourage you to do is to stay away from that mentality and to transition your thinking as to payday just being another day. Because ultimately the goal is to have more than one payday, right? We want to have more than one stream of income coming in. And so when you start to believe that you're going to have more than just this 1 or 2 paydays per month, a payday isn't a big thing to you, right? Because it's not like, oh, I have all this new money now. No, you still have a budget. So you still need to stick to that plan and stick to whatever you were going to do with that money. And so I've seen it happen to so many people where they get paid and 2 weeks later, they don't have any income. They don't have any money to spend because they spent it all that very first weekend. And I mean, I'm not balling out of control, but like you have to shift your mindset to not be in this feast and famine mode, because at the end of the month, like you can't do anything because you spent all of your money at the beginning of the month. And then we're like clinging on to dear life until our next payday comes. And so like that's where our discipline comes in, where we don't spend every extra cent we have at the beginning of the month because we're waiting until our next paycheck. So I'm going to answer a couple questions that were posed in the Facebook group. So the first one was what to do with unexpected new expenses. And so what I would suggest is like if you get a new unexpected expense that's going to be a reoccurring monthly, you need to write a new budget, because that's something that's going to shift everything you're doing. So like somebody mentioned they had a new car note that they weren't expecting to have. Well, you need to rewrite your entire budget to put that in your line item, in your budget. One thing that should happen is that your discretionary income should decrease because you have a new fixed expense that takes priority over whatever you had happening before. And so while it sucks, you have less money to go out. Like this new car note is your new big deal and you want to get rid of that. You don't want to get behind on those payments. But if you still are trying to maintain the lifestyle you had before, then you need to increase your income. And so maybe you're picking up a new side hustle, maybe you are finding passive income, whatever the case is. If you want to maintain the lifestyle you had and your expenses increase, then you need to increase your income. The next question was, what is my opinion on having a budget for miscellaneous expenses versus choosing not to spend unnecessarily? Okay. So this one for me is like a no-brainer because I am a master at talking myself into thinking like a purchase was necessary, right? Well, I needed that new blazer for this interview. No, you didn't. That was an unnecessary purchase. And so for me, the answer is to always have a line item for the unnecessary or the miscellaneous expenses, because you can tell yourself something was necessary and it just wasn't. And so if I say, hey, I need to make this purchase, it's miscellaneous, then it goes in my miscellaneous line item, right? Like, that's money you spent and you need to be accountable for that. And so you're going to have to buy things, right? Your headlight goes out. Mine just went out. I need to replace it. But like, I have a miscellaneous line item for things like that. And so you have to take into consideration that stuff is going to happen that you didn't expect to happen. And so you need to budget for that. And when it doesn't happen, then guess what? That's money you can put towards your financial goal at the end of the month, or money you can use to treat yourself. And so for me, I am the type of person where, like, even though I'm working really hard towards a goal, I cannot deprive myself of not spending any money on anything fun for like months at a time, because what will happen is I'll get to like 2/3 away from reaching my goal and I'll feel deprived. And so then I mess up and I binge and feel like I need to spend because I haven't been doing it. And so I like to include in my budget space for me to treat myself, which is why my entertainment budget is $150, because like I need to do something fun or else I'm not going to make it to the goal that I want. Like, I really do want that goal, and while I probably could increase my entertainment budget to $500 a month, I know doing that I won't get to my goal. But at the same time, if I decrease it to 0, I'll be miserable. And I don't believe in being miserable while you're trying to reach a goal. Where like some people may feel like they can cut stuff out cold turkey, and if that's you, more power to you, but I know that's not me. And so I feel like you have to do the things that are best for who you are. And if you can go 6 months without purchasing anything, and then at the end of those 6 months, you know, you get $300 or whatever to buy what you want, that's great for you. But I know for me, that's not going to work. So I would say it's up to you to treat yourself the way that you know you can, within the realm of still pursuing that goal seriously. The next question was, what are some ways to get started? And so the very first thing I would say is to make a serious budget. And if you don't have one, there's a template in the group that is going to help you figure out, you know, how much money am I spending? And so I think sometimes people hear the word budget and they automatically become defensive, like budget is a poor word. And if we're being honest, major corporations have budgets. And budget doesn't mean broke. Budget means responsible. And if you don't want to call it a budget, you call it a spending plan. You call it whatever you need to call it. But at the end of the day, you need something that's guiding where your money's going. You tell your money what to do. Your money doesn't run you. And if it is running you, then you're doing this wrong. So you need a roadmap that is guiding you to whatever your financial destination is. And so the way to get started, to have a budget, become one with whatever your goals are, and truly believe that you can get to those goals. Because if you don't see yourself getting out of debt or getting a new house or getting a new car, whatever your goal is, taking that vacation, it's not going to happen. You have to believe that what you're doing is worth it, or you're just going to quit. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to make you not spend your money. Hey, Sue. But yeah, so make a serious budget, stick to the plan, and then put it somewhere in plain sight, right? Hey Pam, thanks for joining. Put it somewhere in plain sight where you're forced to see it. And so for me, I like to write things down, because for some reason when I write it, it makes it real. And so I have my financial goals written down in something that I keep with me always. And I also have like spreadsheets, stuff I like to see all the time, because when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. But if it's in my face, then I know it's there and I have to address it and be face to face with it. The next thing I want to address was, the comment, well, it was on sale. And so, yes, things go on sale. And the point of a sale is to get our attention and to make us feel like we need to buy it. And my response to that is, if it was on sale and it's in your budget, good job. Because if you expected to pay more for it, guess what you can do with the money you saved? Put it towards your financial goal. But if what you bought was not on sale, it was on sale, but it was out of your budget, you need a slap on the wrist, because you don't want to do that. Sales are for saving, not for splurging. So just because something was on sale doesn't make it okay to buy. If you can't afford it when it's on sale, you still shouldn't buy it because it's not in your budget. And so that's where the discipline comes in of like, yes, it was on sale, but how much more important is the goal I'm trying to reach? Next question. So what to do when surprise expenses come up? And so I have two responses to this. The first one is, well, what type of surprise is it? Is this a small surprise or a big surprise? Like, oh snap, I forgot my parents' wedding anniversary. Like, is that something I can take care of in my miscellaneous budget? Or is this like, wow, like my AC broke and I need to pay somebody to come fix it? So like, it all depends on how much money we're talking about spending. So like, for small surprises, I think that those things can go into your miscellaneous budget item. Like, you expected something to go wrong because something always goes wrong. But like bigger issues, things that are going to cost several $100s, those type things come from your emergency fund, which we are building because that's why we have it. When stuff happens that we didn't expect, but we have the money for it. And so things like that shouldn't bust your budget because you've prepared for them. You've put your money away for rainy days, and like emergencies that are big ticket items are rainy day items. And so you go into your emergency fund for that. But small things that are surprises, that's where your miscellaneous budget item comes into play. That's where you take care of that. Okay. My next question, it says, how do we deal with splitting the bill? And so I ran into this situation a couple of months ago, and it was so interesting to watch it play out. I was at dinner with like a huge party, and we did not discuss how we were going to split the bill beforehand. Hey Lisa, thanks for joining. And so what my first suggestion is, y'all need to talk about what y'all are going to do before you order. There's nothing worse than having a party of 15 people and not knowing how y'all about to split these checks, right? And so what some people will say is that, okay, we're all just going to split it evenly. And then others, me, I'm paying for what I bought because I don't eat beef and I'm not paying for your steak. I'm just not doing it. And so some of your friends might scoff about it and give you a little attitude, but at the end of the day, I got financial goals, and if I got a salad, I'm not paying for your steak. And so if your friends get mad about it, they'll get over it if they're your real friends. And if they're not, well, now you know who you're not going out to lunch with anymore or to dinner with anymore. But I think that I really think that that's something you need to determine beforehand, because if people aren't clear about what's expected, you don't want them to assume. And I'd hate for somebody to assume that them buying a $60 meal is the same as me buying something for $20. Like, I'm on a budget. I'm spending $20. I'm not splitting your $60 meal with you. Like, that's not going to happen. And so communicating that is very, very important up front. Okay, so I think I tackled all of them. Oh, there was another one that talked about what apps to use when you're getting started. So my very, very favorite app that I've actually relaxed off a little bit because I've become so in tune with my spreadsheets. I am like a Mint fanatic, and that's Mint. They have a website. They also have an app. I still have Mint on my phone. But Mint is great, so it's free, of course. But it syncs with your bank accounts. It also syncs with your investment accounts. You can put in how much your car is worth. You can get like your credit scores. Like, there's so many great resources on there. The only drawback to Mint is that it has a 1-day delay on money that comes in and out of your account. So like, let's say you got paid on Monday. It won't show up in Mint on Monday. It'll show up on Tuesday. But aside from that, it's like awesome. You can set up reminder emails about when payments are due. And it like tells, you can put categories, you can put your budget categories in there, and as it recognizes them, it'll automatically populate as to what you spent was what. So like if you go to Walmart and you buy groceries or whatever, it'll recognize, hey, you went to Walmart, this goes in your groceries category. So I really liked it when I was using it. Now I'm like super crazy about my budget because I'm buying a house, and so I'm really into it. Yeah, Pam, it does give credit scores too. I would just be cautious about relying on the credit scores too heavily, because there's nothing better than getting your scores directly from one of the 3 bureaus. Those are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So if you want your actual score, you can go visit annualcreditreport.com and get your report for free. You have to pay for the score. You notice that the score isn't that accurate compared to your MyFICO app. Yeah. So, and I don't know if that's because they're using the Vantage score as compared to the FICO score, but it does kind of help you, give you an idea of what your score is. It does like catch when you're spending too much, balances are too high. And Credit Karma also does that too. Just throwing that out there. But I will say, tangent, that if you've been keeping track of your credit scores, you might have noticed that you have an increase recently. They did some changes to how credit scores are calculated. So is the credit score different from FICO? I'm not for certain on this, but I think they don't use the same calculations that your FICO score does. So there's another score called the Vantage score, and I think that's one that's more closely related to what you're going to see on mint.com. So I would just say, for something that's free, it's helpful to have an idea, but if you want your actual score, you need to go to an actual bureau and get it. So, but yeah, so that's what I have for you today on disciplined spending. Make a plan, work the plan, and stick to the plan. The best advice I have for you is to get serious about your goals. Like, if you believe in whatever you're trying to achieve, that's the quickest way to make it happen. It's kind of like just having determination. At the end of the day, nothing's gonna beat out you believing that you're gonna make it happen. Like workout goals, you know, whatever the goal is, if you truly believe that you can attain it, you're gonna put more effort towards it. And so at the end of the day, you just have to get serious about your goals. Like, you can't change what you don't change. Like, if you don't change your attitude towards it, nothing's gonna happen differently. So make a plan, stick to the plan, and like start telling people no. Sorry, I can't do that. Is it free? Is somebody gonna finance me? I've told my friends, like, my budget for today is $5. So y'all wanna get a bottle of wine? Because that's what I have for you. And like, when people know and they're your real friends, they're gonna hold you to that, or they're at least not gonna block you. So if you guys are gonna go do stuff that costs $50, I can't afford that. So if you want to pay my way, I'll come with you, but like, I'm just sorry. You have to learn to say no and get serious about your goals. So that's really what I have for you guys. I hope that you are disciplined. If you have any follow-ups, feel free to post them. You can send me an email, tremaine@mindovermoney.net. Feel free to check out my website. I got a new blog post coming up. I'm going to post that for you guys shortly. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have some friends who aren't in the Facebook group, please encourage them to join. I love how active you guys are. We're over 600 strong, y'all. I remember starting this group. It was kind of rough, but we in there, and like more than 2/3 of you guys are active. So thank you so much. And have a wonderful Wednesday. All right, good night.